here and this gentleman right here.
This gentleman, I wouldn't go that far, jump to that conclusion, but Ray Holly, the alchemist of marketing mojo here at lindadeer.com.
I like it. And we are always happy to be here with you guys on Tuesdays, every Tuesday, right here, Facebook and YouTube, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, tonight tonight is episode 252 of Linda's Weekly Guided Insights. Each week in Linda's Weekly Guided Insights, I ask my spirit guides, what's the most important thing for you to know right now? We channel these insights using Ask the Universal Channel, the same way your spirit guides and angels interact with you in a personal coaching session with me. Tonight, the spirit guides will be talking about contemplation builds character. Using the search term, Linda Deer, you can join us live on my Facebook page, my Facebook timeline, and on my YouTube channel. And like always, Ray will be monitoring the feed for your questions and comments. So feel free to let us know what's on your mind regarding tonight's insight from any one of these platforms. All right, you guys. Now we're going to get into the insight. Contemplation builds character. I always read just a little excerpt out of this, and then Ray and I talk about it, okay? And then we close it with the closing message from the guides. When you contemplate something based on its face value, you do not read embellishments into it. Now, without bias or reading anything into it, ask yourself, how does it make me feel? Contemplation leads to a feeling of one kind or another. Once you can answer this deliberate observation, it makes you, and how it makes you feel, then ask yourself, what do I realize that I didn't before I was contemplating it? What did you realize? It's one thing to sit there and it's kind of like a daydream. It's not daydreaming, but it's kind of like, relaxing and letting go of any expectation you have, any thing you have to do that day. You just kind of relax and let it come through, and you just it's free floating. You're in the other world. That's what's going on. You're physically here, but you've left the scene. You're contemplating, like as if you were daydreaming. Okay. So how is it different than when you subscribe to biased beliefs? Most beliefs that people cling onto with great might have never been contemplated by them. Okay? They are secondhand opinions from other people handed down to you. There's just nothing to contemplate. You base your decisions or thoughts on assumptions. That's not living a contemplative life. That doesn't include you. You're kind of just along for the ride, You haven't really thought it through. You haven't put yourself in that spot to contemplate it, so you know how it fits you or not. That's what contemplation does. Okay, Ray.
Or, sometimes you hadn't experienced it. You have some kind of belief about something, but you never experienced that. Well, how do you know that's true? Well,
exactly.
My brother, my cousin, my best friend, he goes skiing all the time. And he tells me how great it is and how wonderful it is. Have you ever been skiing? Well, no. Well, I know I would love it. See,
yeah.
There's a decision.
You don't know that. You don't know that. Actually, there's action that you take, so you do know whether you like it or not. You do know whether you're going to invest $500 in ski equipment, right? And outfits and stuff.
That would only be one ski nowadays.
A lot of people go out there and they invest all this into it before they contemplate it, before you sit there, if you contemplate what will happen, because you're in two worlds, you guys. You're in this world, which is very black and white. And then you're in this world, the one you came from, your before life. All right. So these are two worlds. When you contemplate, you're present because you're not just here. Now you brought this in. You brought in the part of you that knows how to contemplate. This part of you does not know how to contemplate. Only this part does. But when this part contemplates, this part is the part that takes the action so it can be realized in this world. Okay.
I did some research on contemplation. It's a quite complex concept, and there's many different definitions of it depending on where you live in the world and how you apply it.
Right.
You want to hear some of them?
Absolutely.
Okay. Right. There's some you've heard before. Lost in thought.
Okay? That's good.
He's always lost in thought. Well, you can't get his attention. He's always lost over there, lost in thought.
Right. That's contemplation.
Right. Deep reflective thought.
Right.
So contemplation is deep reflective thought.
Right.
It's also concentration on spiritual things. It's very big in the spiritual world. Concentration on spiritual things, or to consider something with attention.
Causing you to have to slow down. You've got to pull out of the fast lane in this life where you're just consumed with what to do next. You got to catch that green light. You're always chasing something in this world. Okay. There is no time for contemplation when we're running through our life. And that I want to bring something up. 2020. Put on the brakes. Okay. It doesn't matter why or politically, if it's right, or medically, if it's true. None of that matters. Metaphorically, what happened is your life was put on pause long enough. For the first time in your lifetime, you were able to pause long enough to contemplate, to really connect with what's important to you, with what it is that's important to you, not what you have to do, should do, hurry up and do. You've got to pay the bills. That's this world. It doesn't let you contemplate. Okay. The only time I would find true contemplation, I mean contemplation, I ice skate, or at least I used to ice skate until about 4 years ago when I was too busy with this project and I couldn't do both. I was too tired to go ice skating. But when I would get on that ice, and Ray, when he would go with me ice skating, there's no room to think about anything like in this world. There's no room. You've got to focus on what you're doing. You've got to be present. And when you're doing that and you're skating and you're like in a different world, you're like in that world. Okay. You're free. The best feeling about ice skating is the freedom you feel. And when you do that and you're on your game and you're having a good ice skating day, you feel the contemplation coming through. Things come to you. You realize things because you're contemplating. You can't think about anything else when you're working on balance, technique, flow, breathing. It's a whole thing. So when you do something like a sport that calls for every part of you to be present, you're contemplating. It's a perfect time to catch those contemplations that you're experiencing. Okay.
Yeah, you can't be trying to think about, what you're gonna do when you're done ice skating,
right?
Or what you did that morning, or what you had for breakfast, or where you're
nothing.
Going that
night. No time for chatter. No time for chatter.
As soon as you break the contemplation, It's no longer ice skating, it's ice falling.
It's concentration. In fact, they mentioned in this insight, concentration and contemplation are related. So concentration, anything that you do that you have to concentrate on. Sports are a perfect example of that. Ice skating happens to be one of them. If you're riding a bike and you're really being challenged by riding that bike, you have to stay focused, you have to be present, you have to be paying attention. And that's when those moments of contemplation, from concentration, can come through.
Yeah, sport is probably a good example of that takes a lot of concentration and contemplation is golf.
That's
You're there,
true.
you're there all alone.
No, that's
It's
really
you and the
true.
ball.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and
You're focused.
you're focused on, is it going to go this way? Is it going to go? I want it to go that way. But,
In golf, though, there's a lot of frustration. So it's like two worlds working together. One moment you're in contemplation, you're focused and you're in the moment, you're in the zone, you're present. And the next moment you hit that ball going the wrong direction and it brings you right back into this world. And you're like, how could I do that? What was I thinking? It goes back and forth. It's a sport where you can beat yourself up a lot.
yeah, okay. So outside of sports, contemplation has a big role in religion, especially Eastern Christianity. Contemplation means to see or have a vision of God.
Let me try.
Quiet
Right.
and you have a vision.
That means you're in prospective. Okay, introspective.
Mm-hmm.
You are centered and present and God-like. Okay, you're in that zone where you came from, who you really are. Okay, not just for the moment that you're here. And I do mean moment. This world is not all there is. And it's once you're released from this world and you look back at it, in fact, as you're leaving and you're looking at your body that you're leaving behind, there's no connection to it at all. And you instantly feel 100% you. Contemplation is that moment where you're 100% you. It feels so good.
Well, staying with the religious theme, it also means, what do we say? It means to see or have a vision of God. And it's also called, yourself. It's like gazing into the mirror. Okay, it's also called the gaze of faith and a silent love.
Okay, I'm going to translate that. The gaze of faith and the language of love.
A silent love.
A silent love. When the guides describe who they are, they always say, we come from truth and love. And they say they are the same. Where you came from is unconditional love. It's all there is love. That's why in this lifetime, you're longing for love all the time. You're in a relationship, you're longing for a love that the relationship doesn't seem to deliver. It's not a relationship like you feel the love. Where's the love in that? Okay, when you don't have a relationship, you feel the lack of love. You're always longing for love. Well, that's that God-like thing, that love, truth. That's where you came from before you got here, where you go back to when you're released from this world. I always talk about the two worlds, you guys. Contemplation happens over here, where you came from, where you remember yourself. Concentration, it recognizes itself over here, but it still comes from over here. All right. Concentration is deliberate. Contemplation, you find yourself, bam, you're there. You're like, whoa, I just kind of drifted off and I found myself in that moment. And it's amazing what I experienced in that contemplation. It's like, I want to say it this way. When you guys were little kids, boy, did you do this all the time. You contemplated constantly. How come you can't do that now? How come it's so rare to find those moments of contemplation? When you were a kid, you did it every single day, all the time, all the time. You were a free spirit. You contemplated easily because you were new here. You were a new person and you hadn't totally bought in to the demands of this world. So you had more free space, more free. You were more free.
You had more free time too.
You were a kid and you just spent your time in contemplation, playing with a toy or taking and tearing apart a motor, or you were so involved. When somebody said something to you, you'd go, "Whoa!" You were so in it. You were in contemplation as you were concentrating. It's cool. There's so much we learn. There's so much that's discovered in those moments of contemplation. That's where you learn about yourself.
Okay, they say that of all the pleasures in life, contemplation is the most self-sufficient because, one, it seeks nothing outside of itself.
Right. It's completely content. The contentment is there. It's loaded with contentment in that contemplation.
And two, it realizes a divine element within you.
It recognizes you, the real you who first came here, fully capable of living the life you intended before you got here, because you had the gifts and you had the gifts and the talents to pull it off until this world crashed down on you. It's like, oh my God. Oh. It's so harsh, so calculated, so black and white. When you're in contemplation, it's unconditional, you guys. It's not black and white. It's just you're open, as open as you could possibly be. What a great place to pull from.
And I learned a new word today. If you ever heard about somebody, what are you doing there besides contemplating your navel? It looks like you're doing nothing. Okay. What are you doing besides
you think about it being said from this world perspective? It sounds ridiculous.
It sounds silly.
Yeah.
However, there is a very powerful thing in yoga and meditation where if you start floating off track, they say, just contemplate your navel. Think about your belly button.
What they're talking about is bringing yourself back
to the center,
to the moment.
Right. And in fact, a lot of yogis think that the belly button area, the navel area, is a very powerful chakra point. It's kind of like in the center.
True.
From the top of your head to your foot, to your feet.
It's your power center.
Right. So you want to hear what you call contemplating your navel?
What's that, Ray?
Omphaloskepsis.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I never heard that word either. Omphaloskepsis. There is actually a word for it. So what else what could you be doing and find yourself contemplating a lot?
Anytime you're doing something you love, whatever that happens to be. I love ice skating. Okay. But I also love writing. Anytime I'm doing one of those two things, I go somewhere else. I'm in contemplation. I'm concentrating. I'm focused. I'm present. I'm not thinking about, what we're going to have for dinner tonight. I'm not thinking about, got to go get the mail. I'm not thinking about any of the nonsensical things that go on in your day-to-day life that just, they're just a bunch of stuff you have to do. It's just minutia.
Things that happen every day.
Yeah, it really isn't. It's just stuff. All right. When I'm doing those things, when I come out of it, like, oh, I got to go make that phone call or something else comes up, I go, wow, that was like that was like a nap. That was like such a great place to be. I feel so good. I feel so complete. The earlier part of what Ray was talking about, where it's a God sense. You feel total. You feel complete in that contemplation. That's why kids are, if they're not stressed out by humans, that's why kids are so happy, naturally happy. Just they come in happy. They come in feeling good. They come in natural contemplators. It's just what it is. They're natural. Being in contemplation is the most natural feeling that you'll ever know.
It's interesting you mentioned that one of the things where you find yourself contemplating a lot is writing.
Yeah,
I guess it would depend on what you're writing. I mean,
right.
if you were a fiction writer, okay, or maybe a poetry
We're
writer,
not talking about a tormented writer
yeah, like all the
where you
famous.
have to force it. You're working at writing. You don't know how to write. You're having trouble. You're constantly caught up in writer's block. That is not contemplation. Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, if you were writing a book about the meaning of life or the origin of the universe, have to do a lot of contemplating to get that book out.
Well, if you have to contemplate, do you hear that? Have to, have to contemplate, you will not be able to do it.
Yeah, if you're not a natural contemplator.
If you're not doing what you love, okay, not a
yeah,
natural contemplator, you are too. You're a natural contemplator. You came in that way. You are natural at it. Here's the secret. You don't have to be a writer. Do what you love. Is it making jewelry? Is it painting uh, on canvas? Whatever you're called to do that you love to do, it comes from love. Your truth, love and truth are the same thing. It comes from the core, the root of you, the most basic part of you that has all the potential. When you go that way, you're naturally going to fall into contemplation. And it's a natural response. It's natural to contemplate. But if you're not in a life that is conducive to who you are, coming from where you love to be, okay, what calls you, your purpose, your meaning, contemplation is off the table. If you're over here in this world working at a job you don't like, with people that you don't align with, and then you come home to a family who doesn't appreciate you, guys, there's no way. You're going to learn when you find out about these things and you really look into it, like in this insight, Linda's weekly guided insight. You're going to realize that it's you've got to be done with missing your life. You've got to call it. You've got to get real with it and right with it. So you can have what you love back in your life that aligns with who it is that you are. And just naturally, contemplation will come through for you. Just like guidance will come through for you. It will just be there as a byproduct of you being who you are. When you're not who you are and you're forcing it in this world, there's no way. And the longer you do that, you compromise yourself. The longer you do that, the more likely you're going to get sick, physically sick, because your soul, your purpose for being here has been trying to get through to you, trying to get your attention. Quit selling yourself short, quit selling yourself out, quit just being in this world. You came from here. You brought all the gifts and talents you needed to pull off what you came here to do. And if you keep pushing it away and keep pushing it away at the expense of just hanging on another day, another week, another month in this world, and just going with the grind and compromising, living a black and white world where you don't exist, that's not the life you intended to live when you came here. So this this topic on contemplation builds character. It builds character because you are present. You are the character.
Yeah. So how does, okay, you're writing music, you're a great composer, you're a writer, you're doing something where you have to concentrate a lot and contemplate something before you make a decision and write. Okay. How does your environment affect your ability to contemplate?
Or support it.
Right.
Or support it.
Right.
It's, you know, when you sit back, when you stand back and look at it, when you look at it out there, not here, not where it's worked against you and you're angry about it and you're fed up with all this nonsense. No, you won't find it when you're coming from this approach. You have to, and I've got no choice but to do this. I wrote a journal, companion journals to guided, okay, about how you do this. You write 15 minutes a day about what you're contemplating, what peeked through, what showed up just for 5 seconds, what came to your mind that was unusual and out of the ordinary. That's what you need to be writing down to get you back in the game. Once you do that, you can't see it when you just talk about it, blah, 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 you know, a little bit out of context here. Oh, I don't remember. It was like last week or a month ago. And I only remember the first part of it, but the rest of it I forgot and blah, blah, blah. And it's the same life you've been living, just haphazardly scattered and missing you. All right. How do you get yourself back? You start writing in your journal for 15 minutes a day. This is a system, a guided journal writing system that takes you through 4 qualifying questions. Write down what it was you contemplated, what was unusual or out of the ordinary, or a dream you had, or where you came and recognized something from this world, the world you came from, something that's not big in this world, okay? And the only way you're going to find it is by keeping this up. 15 minutes a day, writing it down. Write it down and then ask yourself, how does that make me feel? That's where you're going to discover what you're going to realize. Only once you write down, identify how it made you feel, are you going to be able to realize what's the value in that information so you can take an action. 4 qualifying questions. And this is how you're going to remember what you left behind. So the contemplation will be an automatic byproduct of you doing this writing. In fact, the more you do this, every day you put in a journal entry, every day, 15 minutes a day, you write down what that was. Now it's not in here, just blah, 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 blah. Now it's on the pages. The proof is on the pages. You look at it in a day from now, a week or a month from now, and look back at what you wrote in sequence, okay, chronologically, and you can put the pieces together and go, okay, I'm catching this now. Now you're not just full on in this world, just driven by this world. Now the real you is coming back into the scene, okay? And you're beginning to see how these two interact and play with each other, okay? And work with each other instead of this dominating you and this part of you retreating. That's what happens. This world is so loud and harsh that this part of you retreats and it says, oh, I can't do that. I can't open myself up to this when this is all there is. I can't live in that, okay? Or you just compromised yourself to such a degree. This is all you have. And in the end, when it's time to move on, okay, you pretty much go back to the same person you were before you got here. Didn't get much done because you guys, the only thing you take with you when you leave this world is what you learned, is who you became as a result of experiencing this lifetime. Okay? More than you were before you got here. That's the only thing you returned home with. Contemplation is a part of that. It's a breather. It lets you realize.
Yeah, realize that's a good point, because realize is part of this discovery process as you write things in your journal. But one of the definitions of contemplation also said it's it seeks nothing outside yourself,
That's right.
and it realizes there's a divine element within you.
It's unconditional. It doesn't have conditions. It doesn't have expectations. That's this world. That all comes from here. If it interrupts your contemplation, then it interrupted it.
It's like getting jolted out of your sleep. You know, like you're concentrating and contemplating something.
Focus.
You're not in the world. You're not in this world. You're not. And somebody walks in the room and they scare the heck out of you.
Yeah, they say something. You go, oh boy, you know, you
Gosh, you scared.
you were not here. You were really over here. You guys know how this feels. You know, this is what gets you back into this world. This is what makes sense of this life. No matter what's going on in the outer world, it gets small compared to you realizing yourself and you experiencing what that is. Okay. All right. So we're going to get through this. We would love to have your comments. You guys are not commenting. I'm going to talk about our announcements for this week and through the weekend. And then we're going to close the session with the guide's closing message, okay, about tonight's insight, contemplation builds character. Okay, join me October 20th. I will be streaming live on my Facebook page, my Facebook timeline, and on my YouTube channel. Use the search term Linda Deer. This will be a Q&A and commentary, although we're not getting any Q&As from you guys or comments, all right? I guess you just like to watch us.
I like to watch.
For next Tuesday night, published in Linda's Weekly Guided Insights, episode number 253. We've been doing these since May of 2014, every week. With me, Ray, and the Spirit Guides at 6 p.m. Pacific time. In Linda's Weekly Guided Insights, my Spirit Guides will be talking about consciousness resides in the details. Everybody wants to achieve consciousness, but few understand how to get there. We said that consciousness is in the details. So what are the details? How do you find them? And what do you do with them once you do find them? The first thing that keeps you from finding the details is that you normally don't look deep enough. Instead, you learn some type of phrase or outline, and you just accept it as good enough and run with it. This is faking it. Reasoning that if you just do that, it will be good enough to get you by. That's this world, you guys. That's full on this world. Okay, so start getting Linda's Weekly Guided Insights delivered to your email box each Tuesday. Sign up, it's free. You can find the link in the description of this video. Training with Linda, one-on-one training. I teach you guys how to do this one-on-one with me, all right? One-on-one training, you'll find the link in the description of this video, so check it out. And the replay of our webinar we did, entitled Linda Live, The Light Beings, Nothing is as it appears to be. Everything will change in the coming months. We did this webinar in September 26th. Coming months, we're in it right now. The light beings pointed out the truth versus the propaganda, so you are not drawn in to an agenda. The next few months will test you. So look for the link in the description of this video. And Thursday, this coming Thursday, October 15th at 6 p.m. Pacific time, join us on our Facebook private group, Ask the Universal Channel. The teachers of Ask the Universal Channel will be performing the following. Joy will ask her guides about situations where enlightenment with spirit can come quicker. Veronica will ask her spirit guides to discuss presence as a path to freedom. And Kathy's guides said that the topic will be about showing others the way. This event will be hosted by Linda Deer and Ray Holly. So look for the instructions on how to join this private Facebook group in the description of this video. And this Saturday, October 17th, at 1 p.m. Pacific time, I will be reading from chapter 23 of Guided. And you can join me on my Facebook page, Facebook timeline, and on my YouTube channel. And before we do our closing message, to be all that you came here to be and support those who have made a difference in your life, share this video to your like-minded friends about my work if I have made a difference in yours, about these Tuesday Insights, about my 5 interconnected books available on Amazon, about reading from my books on Saturdays, about learning to channel using Ask the Universal Channel, about our monthly webinars the last Saturday of each month, and about my one-on-one coaching and training.
You're a busy girl.
We do a lot of stuff. And it all came, I'll tell you, you guys, this all came from your request, from demands that you made about it all stems from starting to read or listen to Guided. It all stemmed from that. This is my true life story about how I learned to do this from the time I was a baby. And I took that photograph. That's a photograph I took of my guides in 1994 at Christmas time when they showed up in the room. And I happened to have my Nikon camera in hand. You can find out about the whole story right there in Guided. It's fascinating. It's how I learned all this. I didn't learn it from anyone in this world. I learned it from the world I came from those who followed me here. And you have that too. You have the same exact thing. I'm not special. I'm not unique. You guys all have this. And that's why I wrote these books, the Guided Journal Writing System. It's these 2 books and Guided to teach you how to do this. You're going to remember. It's going to remind you who you are. I'm not teaching you anything. You will remember yourself. And that's where it will come from.
It might take a little contemplation to remember all that,
Well, you won't have to contemplate. You will find your way by doing what you love, following your heart. Okay. And when you do that, you're there. You are instantly there. Contemplation is a natural byproduct from then on. You don't have to look for it. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to desire it. It will just show up. It goes along with the package. All right. You came in with it, you guys. It's who you are. Okay. All right. The guides are going to close the session tonight about contemplation builds character. And here they go.
Unless you concentrate and contemplate, you will miss the moment. Not only will you miss the moment, but you will miss the meaning of the moment.
Right.
The meaning is not ever lying on the surface. It's not always obvious. You have to focus and observe and put in some deep, reflective thought. Always look for the hidden meaning. Don't blindly accept anything that you hear or that people tell you. They are designed to get you to agree with them before you ever contemplate. So the next time someone tells you something or tries to sway you in their direction about a polarizing topic or their opinion, just look at them and say, let me contemplate on that and I'll get back to you.
In Guided, the forward to Guided, I talk about how until the pressure is released, this is what I learned as a little kid. I came up in a very harsh childhood, and I learned how to release the pressure that was being put on me as a little kid. And I realized that once I did that, my guidance could reach me. I could contemplate. I'd play in the sandbox and I'd talk to them and I'd cry to them and I'd tell them what I wanted to figure out and what was hurting me and all that. I talked about that and how you guys all did that when you were little kids. It'll all come back to you when you start to remember yourself. I do my work guided in the companion journals, the guided journal writing system reminds you who you are. I don't tell you who you are. You remember who you are. And once you do that, you're going to look at your life over here and you're going to go, whoa, your only recourse for figuring it out from then, and you will figure it out. You will get out of that trap, okay, is to keep a record, document day by day entries, 15 minutes a day, writing down what you are contemplating, what is unusual or out of the ordinary coming through. What was that dream you had? What was that instance where that person came up to you and said something and you were like, oh my God, do they realize what they just said to me? No, they don't. They're like an agent for the guides. People are unconscious, you guys. By the way, next week is about being conscious.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be this is a good segue right into the next one. So don't miss it. It's going to be powerful. You guys are going to get through this. You guys are going to figure this out. You're going to get your life back.
And remember, when you come join us on Tuesday night, you don't have to wear a mask.
You don't, you guys.
So good night, everybody.
Good night.
See you soon.